Another day, another recap. Today we will be diving into the action crime thriller movie called Section 8. Sit back and enjoy. In Afghanistan, we see a drone flying over a village. The residents notice and prepare for an attack right away. The village is deserted when a group of US forces eventually arrive because everyone is hiding indoors. The team doesn't stop searching, and when they come across a suspicious man carrying a bomb, they surround him right away and threaten to shoot him if he doesn't drop his weapon. The man tries to disregard the threat at first, but when he realizes the troops mean business, he pulls out a gun, forcing the soldiers to shoot him dead on sight. Jake then asks Colonel Mason for permission to disable the device after telling him about the dead man. Mason objects, but Jake pushes past him and continues working on it, eventually disarming it. During that instant, a second hidden bomb detonates, killing the majority of the soldiers. Before long, the guys emerge from the buildings, encircling the Americans as they open fire and starting a bloody shootout. American soldiers are being killed everywhere, leaving only Jake and Mason surviving. Jake hurries to join his colonel and is nearly shot by the enemy, but Mason saves his life just as a chopper arrives. 5 years later, Jake is adjusting to his new life as a civilian while taking medication for his PTSD. Earl owns an auto business, therefore his new position requires him to work extra hard to cope with some entitled customers. After work, Jake returns home to spend time with his family. He constantly tries to preserve a positive attitude for his son, but things get unpleasant in private when his wife tells out that they have a lot of outstanding debts. Jake, on the other hand, promises to take care of everything as usual. When Jake puts his son to bed, he shows him a picture and tells a tale about his old squad, as well as the fact that Mason was in the hospital when the baby was born. Jake laments not having spoken with Mason in a long, and when the boy asks if he has ever killed someone, Jake dodges the matter. The next day, Jake arrives at work to find a group of gangsters saying Earl owes them money. When Jake attempts to kick them out, the leader Fresh dispatches his guys to beat him up, but Jake easily beats them all by just using a wrench. Fresh stops him by showing him his gun, promising a second round in the future, and he leaves with the group. Jake then confronts Earl, who admits that he was formerly a member of a gang but was fortunate enough to escape and construct something he could call home. Earl swears to always guard his block, so Jake won't have to worry about his family. Jake feels like he's still at war and phones his family to check on them, only to hear his wife tell him that he should have contacted the cops instead of getting involved. When Jake gets home later that night, he finds Fresh in his car talking about getting even before he drives off. Jake rushes inside the house, panicked, and is shocked to realize his family is dead. So he shouts and cries and has a complete collapse. The cops arrive moments later and attempt to question Jake, but he snaps and flees in his truck. While searching for Fresh's vehicle, he drives about the city, his thoughts always returning to his best family moments. Eventually, Jake finds the car outside a wicked club. He rushes inside with a revolver in hand and begins murdering every single gang member without hesitation. When he is ready to kill Fresh, the man confesses that he did not intend to harm Jake's family, but he had no choice. This does not change Jake's thinking, and Fresh is also shot. 5 months down the line, Jake is serving time in prison for his crime, and his PTSD worsens as he spends the most of his days envisioning Fresh murdering his family. One day, Jake is astonished to get a visit from Mason, who offers to assist restart the case. Jake refuses because he believes he belongs there and repeats what he told the judge he got his revenge and now has zero remorse he'd even do it again.
Because I do it again in a fucking heartbeat.
Jake then requests Mason to never return and instructs the guard to take him back to his cell. That night, Jake recalls his days in the service and how Mason retired after saving his life. Sometime later, Jake is contacted by a man named Ramsey, who claims to run a private task force. Jake, on the other hand, refuses to let him say anything else and again requests that the guard take him back. Later that night, when Jake is dreaming of his family, a group of masked men break into his cell, sedate him, and take him away. When Jake awakens, he finds himself free of prison and learns that his captor is Ramsey, who admits that he has been studying Jake for a long time and is impressed by his record. Ramsey's organization, Section 8, does not play by the rules, and Ramsey believes they can restore Jake's purpose. As a last touch, Ramsey says Jake's son wants to view him as a hero, not a felon, so Jake agrees to join. Later, in Washington, D.C., Ramsey presents Jake to the rest of the crew, including Elias, Ajax, Brunner, and Muller. Then he gives him a tour what the Batcave is, explaining that they have 8 operatives in Washington and another 8 around the world. Their directives come from the State Department and the National Security Agency, NSA, and they are always tied to dealing with threats to national security. Because Jake is only getting started, Muller will keep an eye on him and accompany him on all missions until he gets seniority. Jake will also receive a bank account, a city apartment, a vehicle, a backstory, and a pseudonym because he is presumed dead by the rest of the world. Then Ramsey must go, therefore it is up to the team to put Jake through the initiation procedure. Ajax begins to provoke him, pushing him around and throwing some blows. Jake declines to fight and tries his best to avoid them all, but Ajax becomes so aggressive that Jake snaps. He knocks Ajax to the floor and nearly stabs him in the eye with a pen, but then a memory of his family flashes in his mind and calms himself. Then Jake goes, and Ajax, upset, points out that Jake has demonstrated fear, which means he does not belong with them, but Muller disagrees. Sometime later, Jake and Muller board a plane and discuss Jake's first mission. The target is a man named Castillo, a defense contractor who is also a dangerous weapons dealer. He recently obtained some dangerous blueprints that he intends to sell to the Russians. Thus, Jake's mission is to acquire the schematics while also killing Castillo and his guys. Jake doesn't look forward to killing again after realizing they're basically just a squad of assassins. In the evening, the duo arrives in Mexico, where they find Castillo prepared to conduct the exchange with a Russian negotiator in a warehouse. While Castillo and the Russian disagree, Jake sneaks around and discreetly shoots a guard. The commotion causes both gangs believe the other is setting them up, which sets them against one another, and their dispute quickly escalates into a complete gunfight. The gang members begin to die one by one, even causing a car to explode, bringing the fight to an end. Then Jake appears and murders every survivor before checking into the car, where there are two terrified women. Jake ignores them and collects the schematics before departing. Later, at the base, Ramsey chastises Jake for jeopardizing the mission's credibility by keeping those two women alive. Jake attempts to explain that they were victims and accuses Ramsey of disrespecting human life, so Ramsey threatens to return him to prison if he does not comply. Then Jake is fired, and Muller tells Ramsey that Jake performed well, but Ramsey remains uncertain, so Ajax steps in and indicates that Ramsey made a mistake. After he is left alone, Ramsey phones someone named Locke. The following day in Nevada, mercenary Locke enters into a hotel and murders a couple of employees before entering a room and scaring away the women before confronting his target. The man knows Ramsey dispatched Locke and attempts to bribe him with a large sum of money, but Locke murders him nevertheless. Locke then escapes through the hotel's casino, but the guards become suspicious and pursue him. Locke effortlessly beats up every guard that approaches and starts running, smashing items along the way and knocking down the soldiers who followed him. He eventually takes out his gun and fires a few bullets to create panic among the gambling crowd. He also kills a security guard before fleeing outside and stealing an escape car. Meanwhile, Jake moves into his new home and is surprised to find a frame containing a collection of photos from his time in Afghanistan. This reminds him of a conversation he had with Mason, in which Jake hated himself for injuring him, and Mason made an effort to console him. Later, Jake is drinking at the pub when Muller joins him, so Jake tries to obtain some information from her. Muller knows nothing about Ramsey, but she reveals that she used to be in the army and assaulted a superior officer who reprimanded her. Sometime later, Ramsey assigns them a new mission: collect Doan digital material on an important case and assassinate Senator Graham, who is a traitor to the country and has paid many individuals to remain free. Security will be strict, so Ramsey warns everyone, particularly Jake, that they must fight back. A few hours later, the crew arrives to Graham's event in California, disguised as landscapers. Muller sneaks inside and kills all of the guards she can find. Eventually, the security discovers the situation. They whisk Graham away in a van. As Muller breaches the senator's computer, Jake pursues Graham, firing a couple shots in vain. Because the van is moving too quickly for him, Jake decides to take a detour by hopping over a hill and blocks the road. When a guard tries to resist Jake, he kills him fast and moves on to Graham, who says he has a family and begs for his life. Suddenly overcome by memories, Jake chooses to give Graham his freedom. But when the crew arrives, Ajax murders Graham and then tells Jake not to think twice. Later, when he gets home, Jake drinks and looks at images while crying over his guilt. When he notices masked men running outside his window, he hides before they enter his home. The men search for Jake in every room, but he manages escapes through the back door. The next day, Jake visits Mason and tells him the entire story. Mason mentions that the original Section 8 was disbanded in the 1990s, and the one that is still operational is a cesspool of disgraced operatives from the Army, CIA, FBI, and other agencies. They even have major contacts in Washington, so if Jake is fleeing Section 8, he is in grave danger. Mason has never heard of Ramsey and pledges to make some calls. He also agrees to provide Jake with some money and a gun. Afterwards, Jake returns to his hometown and receives a call from Ramsey, who requests a meeting to discuss things, but Jake declines. Then Ramsey requests that Muller contact Locke, who is now hiding in Argentina, and assign him the mission of killing Jake. Later, Jake subsequently runs into his son's best buddy, and as they discuss the tragedy, he discovers that prior to his family's death, Fresh was seen with persons dressed in black suits, similar to secret agents depicted in comic books. Before he can gather any more information, Locke appears and begins fire, so Jake pulls the youngster after into a shop before fleeing. Locke kills a couple individuals, causing panic in the area, and soon the police arrive. Locke shoots them as well. This distraction allows Jake to run away, so Locke steals a police car and searches for him while calling Ramsey to inform him of what transpired. In the evening, Jake hides at Earl's shop and recalls how Earl raised him after his parents died. The computer suddenly beeps to announce the team's approach, so Jake and Earl gather some weapons to fight them. Jake was almost shot by Elias, but Earl immediately took him out. Next, Brunner climbs on Jake, and they begin fighting on top of the car when suddenly Ajax appears, shoots at them. Brunner turns around to scold at his negligence, and Jake seizes the opportunity to strike him with a screwdriver. When Ajax begins fire again, Jake uses the body as a shield and takes his gun to begin shooting back, but he quickly runs out of ammunition. Ajax has a few left, but he wastes them on purpose since he wants to battle Jake hand to hand again to establish his superiority. The guys begin exchanging blows all over the shop, and Ajax attempts to stab Jake but is shot by Muller. Jake then checks on Earl, who is well, and gives Jake his car keys so he may flee because the cops are approaching. Later in the car, Muller claims she spared Jake because she wants to leave Section 8. Jake doesn't trust her and asks to be escorted to Ramsey's location. The next day, the two arrive in Montana and attempt to sneak through a forest to discover Ramsey's cabin, but when Jake turns around, he is knocked out. After another dream about his family, Jake wakes up tied to a chair in a room with Ramsey and Muller, who has been working for Ramsey to set up this trap for Jake. Ramsey announces that he has a surprise for Jake, who is surprised to see Mason enter the room and discover that he has also been working with Ramsey as well. The organization had been looking for an agent with Jake's abilities, so Mason advised them how to get to him, which means they were the ones that paid Fresh to murder his family. Jake can't believe Mason deceived him, but Mason simply tells him that Jake was wasting his talent on cars and a kid. Afterward, the company leaves Jake alone, and Mason pays Ramsey and Muller the agreed-upon amount. Ramsey suggests they kill Jake because he is a liability, and Mason agrees, but he looks inside. While Muller tallies the money, Mason goes to visit Jake and frees him before explaining the truth. He was recruited to bring down Section 8 from the inside, and now he wants Jake to help him finish the mission. Then Mason intentionally sets off the alarm, and when two guards arrive to investigate, they are promptly killed. More guys keep coming, and the duo shoots them all as they make their way to find Ramsey. Another gunfight erupts as bullets demolish their surrounds, and when Ramsey finds them, he shelters with Muller and offers Jake Mason's money.
Case on the table over there.
Jake declines a shot, so Ramsey tries to persuade Jake that everything is Mason's fault, but Jake doesn't trust him. While they quarrel, Muller creeps around and tries to shoot Jake, but Mason pushes him away in order to move and takes the bullet instead. He manages to knock Muller down in return. Jake runs to check on his friend, and Ramsey attempts to take the money, but Jake scares him away with a few shots. Then Mason urges Jake to accomplish the task before dying. Muller intervenes and attempts to shoot Jake, but she is out of ammunition, so they begin fighting hand to hand instead. After trading blows, Mason stabs Jake in the shoulder, but he takes advantage of the opportunity to turn her own hand against her and kill her. Jake then rushes outside and watches Ramsey depart in a car, so he takes a vehicle and pursues him. Both guys begin fire at each other as they drive recklessly, and Ramsey becomes so distracted that he crashes. Jake approaches the wreck, and when Ramsey criticizes him for being hesitant, Jake murders him. In the evening, the police bring Jake to meet General Savoy, Mason's boss. When Savoy asks Jake to join his team, he offers him a job and a fresh start, but Jake says he has nothing to fight for and turns down the offer. Savoy gives him his card anyhow, just in case. Later, Jake goes home to discover Locke waiting for him since he is still determined to complete his job as his reputation requires. Soon after, there's a hand-to-hand battle in which both men display incredible fighting prowess and attack with anything from furniture to objects in the room. When the altercation spills into the kitchen as they continue to beat one another with knives, Locke throws Jake to the ground. As a result, Jake is able to get his gun and kill Locke. Jake announces his departure from Earl in a voicemail he leaves him the following morning, thanking him for everything. While riding the bus in the meanwhile, Jake notices a woman and her son sharing a tender moment. Recollections of his own family resurface, and Jake phones Savoy to extend his offer, stating that he has a cause he is willing to fight for. Savoy greets him warmly as he enters Section 9. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe for more fascinating recaps.